Thank you, Jenna, and the choir. That's beautiful. Give them another round of applause for this. That is so perfect. We don't always know what special music is going to be. And Jenna, you're like a woo, right? She can pick up on things. Well, number one, welcome everyone. Okay, as she mentioned that I'm here to talk about the moon in a way, but more than the moon. I'm here to talk about really about us here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Okay, and what we can do to build that bridge. Okay, and we're going to talk about today a little bit really about that bridge that may be within each one of us, which means that there's a gap oftentimes that we as human beings experience between what we desire to be living and what we're actually experiencing. And that could be in our own personal lives, things we want to achieve, or it could be about our community life, our nation life, and absolutely about our world life. So we're going to talk today about how to build that bridge and how to look beyond our current circumstances and to create that which we desire. So my talk today is about, my title talk is Out of This World. Out of this world. Okay? Now, some of us grew up in a generation, I'm not going to tell on you, but I did, okay, in which we're the generation that actually believed that we could achieve things out of this world because we did. More than 50 years ago, we had a president who stood up and he declared that we were going to do something that humankind had never done before. It was literally out of this world. Okay? And we believe here at the Center for Spiritual Living that we as human beings, we can do things that's out of this world. But sometimes this world may not be going from the earth to the moon. Sometimes this world simply means getting employment. Right? To my world of lack, to my world of abundance. Sometimes it could mean a world of health issues. My world of feeling less than healthy to experiencing more health, life, and vitality. Sometimes my world could be a less of stress and strife between myself and other individual or individuals. That world of peace and harmony. So we're going to talk about how to build that bridge. And it oftentimes is out of this world. But I also want to emphasize this. In addition to the stress and strife of life, it's really important to remember that we want to continue to grow. Out of this world could means I have some good substance right now, and I want more. Because in our philosophy, we believe in good and more good. Excuse me, English majors, and gooder. Okay, all right. So we want more and more good because we came to the conclusion that there's, I can have a sandbox, but on all the beaches of the world there's an infinite amounts of pebbles. There's more. I can lay on my back and look at the heavens and the stars, and now we know there's infinite stars. There is more. So we believe in good and more good. So I'm going to quote just a couple of quotes from what we believe as the Center for Spiritual Living, that because we're part of what's called a New Thought movement, which means we are really a not very structured, organized philosophy. And in this philosophy, there are different organizations in which we happen to be one, called the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Another one is called Unity, which is like my sister or our brother organization. But something that we believe that we as you and I as human beings are expressions or images of God, which means God actually imagined us, and since there was nothing else to imagine from, it had to imagine us of itself. And so some of the things that we adopted from the founder of religious science that we now call the Center for Spiritual Living was a series of things we call what we believe. I'm going to give attention to about two of these. In addition to we believe in the infinite presence of God, absolutely. We also believe in the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature. And this goal is sure to be attained by all. Is that out of this world?
That is out of this world.
Okay. We believe in the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature. And this goal is sure to be attained by all out of this world. Okay? We also believe in the healing of the sick and control of conditions through the power of this mind. And we believe that there's a universal spirit that we call God or spirit, or whatever name that fits with you, that operates through a universal mind, the same thing we call, in philosophy, call a law of life. And that we are surrounded by this creative mind, this creative law. And it receives the direct impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. This is some things we believe. And most importantly, that's not me, right? Okay. I turned mine off, Linda. Most importantly, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. For we understand that the life of all is God. We believe that the life of all is God. So I want to share a little story that kind of illustrates, getting to what I want to illustrate. And one is a story about the student, a Zen master and the student. And the student's name was Kiji, and he was going to his master, asking all these wise questions that Linda said I used to do, right? But I want to tell you something also, Linda. You forgot to say that Linda would always ask, Linda, it was particularly Linda, because she was very affirmative. I'm not going to say aggressive. You could imagine that. Okay.
Not at all.
Right. And she'd always ask these questions, well, you've been around for how long? So what about this and what about that? And I would always ask, what do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then she'd give an answer, and I'd go, yes. Okay. And then she's complaining. That's all he says is, what do I think? I could have taught that, right? But the truth is that, so this kind of illustrates this. So Kiji, the student, was in front of his Zen master. And he said, Master, I don't know how there can be any true enlightenment in terms of accomplishment of enlightenment, because it's an eternal journey. I think we just get greater and greater glimpses of the Buddha nature. So the master, looking at it, his student, Linda, and replied, tell me what you think. Okay. What's been your life experiences? And the student looked at him and said, I thought I asked the question, right? Okay. He said that, what is your experience right now? What is your experience right now? My experience right now, he asked the question, do you know yourself as Kiji? Experiencing or seeking Buddha consciousness? Or do you know yourself as the Buddha nature experiencing Kiji? Do you know yourself as your so-called outer appearance and attributes, and seeking God, seeking peace, seeking health, life, and abundance? Or do you know yourself as made in the image and likeness of God, in the imagination of God, God expressing as you? Do you know yourself as mom or dad? That's your identity. Do you know yourself? I went through that, right? Do you know yourself as a position in employment? And when the employment position goes away or the company goes away, your identity kind of goes away with it? I experienced that. Do you know yourself as a son with great parents? And when they go away, and the great loss you may feel. I experienced that. Do you know yourself as a spouse or in partnership with someone else? And the old theory used to be half this, half that to find someone to make you complete. I experienced that. Or do you know yourself as whole and complete in the here and the now? And you're simply experiencing these roles in life, the experience in life. So I want to invite you to remember where we are today. We're at the Center for Spiritual Living, and we believe and we teach that you are it. You are not your experiences. Another great wise master said, Do not be fooled by appearances. Am I correct? Do not be fooled by the things you see and the things you do, but believe that you are a child of the Most High God. And someplace in those great writings it also say that I am the Lord your God, and there is no other. Now I had to study on that, especially over the last couple of years when I've been deep into what I call centering prayer meditation. And I got focused on there is no other. And so in our philosophy, and here's one of the challenges that came to me. Since I believe in this thing called oneness, and there's this God, I am the Lord thy God, and there is no other. And we've been teaching this philosophy, right, Linda, for over 15, 16, 17 years, that since there is only one infinite, there's no room for anything else. Am I correct? If there's only one infinite, how can there be two infinites? Then there is nothing else. Help me, okay? All right. Then if we are here and we see each other, we feel each other, I'm experiencing life, what must I be? But the infinite expressing. Who are you? We would suggest you are the infinite expressing. And yet we're on a journey, this thing called life. Now I'm going to share with you what I considered part of my childhood development, okay? Another person who had a vision for our country and of all of humanity. And he suggested to us that we could do things that's literally out of this world. And I'm going to show you this little video that we're going to show you, and just to put it in context, he begins to take all of history of humanity, at least conscious history of humanity that he knew at that time, 50,000 years, and he said, imagine it only happened the last 50 years. All of 50 conscious of humanity in 50,000 years happened in 50 years. Okay? And we're going to see what he's going to share with us. We're going to hear what he's going to see and hear what he's going to share with us. Do you need to click? All right.
You need me to turn it on? Okay, perfect.
We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, man learned to write and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year. And then less than 2 months ago, during this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the meaning of gravity. Last month, electric lights and telephones and automobiles and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin and television and nuclear power. This is a breathtaking pace. And such a pace cannot help but create new ills as it dispels old. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer, to rest, to wait, if this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything. It is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
Join me, please. That's the generation some of us came from. Who remember that? Who want to tell your age? All right. Congratulations. All right. Because remember, so what came out of that time of history? We believe that all the obstacles that lay before mankind, we could overcome it. There were illnesses and diseases that was crippling of many of in our generation. It was called polio. Has anybody heard of polio? Okay. Because basically speaking, it doesn't exist anymore. Because we conquered it. Even in more recent history, there's this disease called AIDS. And it was devastating our community only a few decades ago. And we've now got it down to contain it, so now a person can live a full and healthy life. So what can we not achieve? Now, during that same time period, there were wars and rumors of wars going around the country. There were people writing for their, marching for their civil rights. During that same time period, during the same time period, there was a lot of arguments. Why spend this billions of dollars going to the moon? We have people literally, in the United States, living like a third world country. But here's what happens in a spiritual consciousness. There's a law called the law of emergent. When you take yourself and you set a high vision, and you start moving toward that vision, infinite resources are now extracted from the laws of the universe, and it comes to your aid. Your genius begins to open up, and things that you never knew that you had available to you now come out in appearance. That's why another wise teacher said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." So as you and I take time to practice spiritual principles, set a high vision like the visioning will do for you. Visioning is saying that I want to accomplish something. I want to build a bridge from where I am to a better living, something better. And for example, some of you, a few of you in the audience today remember this very audience, about a decade ago, I was pretty broke financially. Okay, going through separation, divorce, and all kind of good stuff, and also your money disappears. And I had this relationship with the IRS. Okay, and then I had to then go deep into spiritual practice to be really centered in spirit and to remember that all these outer circumstances is not who I am. And then Spirit told me Kaleem, it's time for you to go buy a home again, right? And I said, I don't have any money. I said, but I'm good at this now. I've been visioning for years. Spirit told me to go buy a home. Okay, some of you were witness to this, all right? And I said, I went down to the bank because to buy a home, you got to take some action, right? So I went to get pre-qualified. And it was so cute. I was talking to the young lady. She was at her computer at Alaska, USA. Okay, and she asked me all these questions. She says, "And where would your down payment come from?" I said, "Well, you pretty well see my down payment before checks clear." Okay, all right. And then lo and behold, I marched forward. Once again, it was a vision. Right? This is like just everyday routine things. But I said, I'm going to buy a home. So I started looking for a home. I got my real estate agent, started looking for a home. I didn't have any money. But lo and behold, in the process of that happening, because I needed to buy a home, Sarah Palin, the governor at that time, gave us a double dividend. Do you recall that? Our regular dividend plus the energy dividend, all right? Bingo, that's a little bit of money, right? Okay, and lo and behold, because I had a vision, aren't you happy you had a vision? You all got the little dividend, okay? Because I had this vision, I also remember a lawsuit that I had with my insurance company, because we got an auto accident, and both had the same insurance company, and they didn't agree the value of my auto as I agreed on, and it was only a $1,000 difference between me and them. We were hassling for months and almost at the end of 2 years. And I said, Spirit, it really isn't. I just collect the a few $1,000s. It's only a small difference. Spirit said, keep on going, because you got a vision, right? I went to the court and had the highfalutin attorney. I was there representing myself, and the judge agreed with me. Okay, a little more money, right? Okay, and then my son was in college, and I said, okay, so I started accumulating this little money for my down payment closing costs. And some of you know Kaleem. He wanted to join a fraternity. Now, we had discussed the amount of money about the fraternity thing a little while ago. Now it was time, but like he had doubled. I go, wait a minute, Khalil, you told me it's going to be this much. Yeah, Dad, but one of the brothers, he doesn't have parents who can help him out at this time. So I was actually extra money to help him. Now you know what happened to my heart. I cannot believe I gave half a down payment away to him join a fraternity. Okay? And then right in this sanctuary, some of you know, I said, I got to have a talk with God. He told me to go buy a home. I started keeping this little money. I keep giving it away. So I said, wait a minute, God. I had a talk with God. I said, look, you gave me this heart to give money away and help you, because that was the only thing I was giving money away for. You got to take care of this. So Spirit said, okay. So Spirit said, how about if you go over here, you go to this bank, that didn't work out, you go to that bank, that didn't work out. How about this bank? Key Bank. He said, how about no down payment? See what happens? So when you have a vision about your life and you step out and you move toward your vision, things will come out of will emerge out of the universe to support you in your righteous endeavors. And then lastly, I had a recent experience in which at my age, since I was at the age when I was constantly aware of this moon talk, okay, I'm a little at retirement, past retirement age, and I'm thinking, well, it's time for me to kind of kick back now, pull up some of my retirement resources, and then all of a sudden, an opportunity came up to step up in responsibility at my place of employment. And me and God had a talk 2 weeks before the change were happening, and I agreed with God that I did not want to be the director of this program, and God agreed with me in prayer, right? Okay, we got it, God, all right. But then all of a sudden went through the whole interviewing process. I promoted another person to become the director. Then at the end of the process, they came and said, how about you guys be co-directors? I go, co-director? That was a surprise. That wasn't part of my plan, right? I went back and had a talk with God. Okay, now God, I know I'm going to answer it by Tuesday, but since the director wasn't part of it, this new thing came up, and God said, yes, do it. I go, wait a minute. I thought you just said the other day, 2 weeks ago, not to do it. He said, I didn't say director, I said co-director. I go, oh, you got a humor, don't you? Okay? Because then what happened is I was sitting there in prayer, in meditation. All of a sudden, all this energy came upon me. Creative ideas started flowing through my mind of how we could accomplish certain goals. And I went to my team and my executive team, and as I accepted the position, I started doing this, and they started looking at me like I was out of this world. How we could do this, we can negotiate this, renegotiate this, and we could have a prosperous year. They go, okay, Kaleem, you're very optimistic. Well, lo and behold, now the year has passed, and we have exceeded what I thought we were going to do. Okay? Because I got a vision. So here's what I want to encourage you and I to do, to bring this down to application to what it means to us. What did President Kennedy do? He had a vision, right? And obviously he was centered in that vision. And some of you may be reading history like I am today, reminding those days. I had, just look at some of the things he said. He says, first of all, we set sail in this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained. So he knew when you step forth and try to affirm yourself, new information will emerge to assist you. He also said that we must be one, we must do this because when we do this, it's about the progress of all people. And if you understood his consciousness, it was about all of humanity. He had spoken in his inaugural speech. short time, a year or so before. For this, and he went on to say how space science, nuclear science, and all technology has no conscience of its own. Whether it will become a force for good or ill depends on us. Okay? So even though there were people all against this going to the moon thing, but he knew that if we took our national consciousness, and he even invited all the other nations to join us, so I just became aware of that. He invited Khrushchev, our arch enemy, to join in this race going to the moon, to join together to do, like we have now that that floating lab in space. Well, he actually invited Khrushchev to join him in this, and Khrushchev refused. He says, okay, we're going, and we're going to win. Okay? But he also knew, as we know, great technology came out of that. As a matter of fact, that was because of that race to the moon, we have this powerful machine right here. Okay? This little machine, the power of this machine used to take up all this room here, if not more, and require air conditioning and everything. Am I correct? Okay. Uh-oh, telling your generation again. Okay. All right. And we'd have little punch cards come out, right? Remember that? Uh-oh. Cool. Join me now. Okay. But now look what emerged from here. Also, medical technology emerged from there. Okay? And so the things that we are experiencing today in terms of technology all came out of the fact that we had to get to the moon. And those are the accessory things that came about that. So also centeredness, a dream, a passion, and also he affirmed. He spoke it as though it already is. Got it? He said, we're going. He was so bold, he's like a Muhammad Ali, right? And we're going to go within this decade. That's crazy, right? We're going to go out of this world in this decade. We're going to the moon. It happened in 7 years. Isn't that amazing? All right? Because he spoke it truth. Now, so what are some of the spiritual principles involved in this? First of all, it was for all of humanity. So when we affirm something, it's really, Ernest Holmes suggests to us, when you have a vision for something, you want to do something, and is this God's will? Well, Ernest Holmes says, it's God's will if you intend no ill against anyone else. Okay? But if you're doing it for, and it's okay to be self-centered, right? Enlightened, right? Self-interest, but don't do it against anyone else. Practical. You're in the middle of a divorce. You're in the middle of fighting with your boss at work. You got to go attend a school conference about consent about your children. Here's a secret. Do it for the good of yourself and for the good of the other person. Invite them to join you in solving this problem. Pray for yourself and pray for them. And you'll be surprised how miraculous things will happen for good. I'm talking about what happened in my personal life. So he had a vision, he affirmed, and he had a purposeful action. He had to take action. So here's a little acronym I want to share with you today to take home. Okay? I hope you're glad to be here today, but I also want to clothe you with something. CLAD. The C stands for, and whatever your method may be, center yourself in spirit. When you have a vision, things you want something to accomplish, take time to get centered in that vision. Center yourself in the perfect outcome. And center means I want to think it, I want to feel it. Center. L, listen. Listen for that, we call intuition, that still, small voice. And I got rid of that, told God, speak to me loud and clear. Okay? Okay? But listen. And this is what the visioning process is. Okay? And CLADA, affirm. Once you know you've been called to do something, speak it and feel it as though it already is. And lastly, the D for CLAD is do something. Kaleem, I told you to go buy a house. You don't have no money. I didn't ask if you had any money. I told you to go buy a house. Go get pre-qualified. Do something. Got it? Okay? And so here's what we want to do. So I would hope you take away from the day the CLAD, clad yourself. Now notice these are spiritual principles and spiritual practices. The C is a type of meditation which you center yourself. We call it here centering prayer. It's a meditation. The L is listening. We call it visioning. You ask a question of spirit and you listen. The A is affirmation. We call it affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment. It's affirmative prayer. And the D, of course, is what we say, and treat and move your feet. Do something, okay? Demonstrate even a small way that which you want to experience, okay? And so know that when you decide to set your vision on a life purpose, and I encourage all of us to do that, find out and remember why you were born in earth. Remember where you came from, the infinite itself. And I believe that you were here for a divine purpose. And I do know this, and I've experienced this, and many of you have experienced this. When you pursue your purpose with passion, it will propel you over the pitfalls of life. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Pursue your purpose with passion, with feeling, and with energy and assuredness. And all the obstacles you face, I don't care if it's financial problems, relationship challenges, even health challenges. How many of you here a Father's Day about a year ago when I was sitting here in the chair giving my Father's Day speech? Okay, and I was calling on the floor a couple hours before. So I called Linda at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, Linda, okay, because when God called me, I was going to call Linda and say, I can't do it. 6 o'clock in the morning, right? I can't move. Then Spirit told me, Kaleem, I gave you the gift to speak. Your body, it does not affect your mind or your tongue. Okay? You get on that stage, you sit down, and you give this talk. And I called Linda and said, Linda, I need to use your talent of props. Okay? Okay? And I crawled up here, right? I walked up here and sat down, but I didn't tell you behind that though. As I began to move out of my house, I couldn't hardly get down the stairwell. I could move a little bit easier. By the time I drove here, walking from the parking lot, I could walk without the cane. And actually, even though I was standing in the room, because I couldn't sit down, I thought, right? I came out of the other room, but actually the pain had receded. And from that point on, I was walking because I was pursuing my purpose with passion. It propelled me over a pitfall in my life. Let us pray. Praise be to God. I invite you to take a collective breath with me. And we know when we physically breathe, even though the Spirit has given us the ability and good health to breathe automatically without even consciousness, and then we can choose to breathe deeply. And when we choose to breathe briefly, we know that something happens in the energetic environment. And we in-breathe that extra breath of air that nourishes our body with a burst of energy. And also, when we exhale, we release. It takes away from that what we no longer need. Now we are choosing to deeply pray. And I speak this word knowing that which we need is now being provided for us in the here and the now. Praise be to God. And those pitfalls of life, or the appearance of lack, the appearance of disharmony, and the appearance of being uncentered is now being taken away from us. Praise God. And I speak this word affirming and speaking the truth, that each one in this audience and beyond is endowed by the infinite presence with inner peace. Inner peace. That peace that is beyond human comprehension. Oh yes, in the middle of all that may be going on, in the middle of pain, in the middle of disharmony and the outer appearance, oh, there is that peace. and that peace is God. And then I speak this word knowing this, that from this inner peace there comes that outer harmony. Oh, in the middle of it all, I pray this prayer of blessing upon each one of us in this sanctuary, and those even with us in consciousness and on the electronic YouTube. Thank God. Praise be to God. Oh, I declare there's harmony in our lives. There is ease and there is grace. And I pray this prayer of health, life, and vitality upon our physical temples that we call our bodies, which is our earth suits, to sojourn in this thing called earth life. And I pray of peace and harmony and ease, life, energy, and vitality. And I know there is abundance and prosperity. Oh, this prosperity of infinite ideas. And I pray that each one of us in our own individual ways, I know that we can choose to say, I know who I am, and I know what I'm here to do. And that is called prosperity. I know that infinite ideas and creativity flows through us and is available to us right here and right now. Prosperity, creative ideas. Oh, I know there are angels that show up as human beings that will sojourn with us for a while to provide and to add to an exchange of life energies for our highest good and for theirs. That is prosperity. Oh yes, and I know there's harmony and peace in our relationships. And whatever we need, intimate friendships, romances, oh yes, and even finances. And I speak this word that our accounts are overflowing with joy and abundance, more than enough to meet and exceed our needs and to share. Abundance and overall knowing that all is well. And there's infinite resources from the one source. And for this, I'm absolutely thankful that it already is. Praise be to God. And now with a grateful heart, knowing that it is so, I now release into that loving presence, that living law that is always saying yes to our highest good and for all that concerns us. Please join me in affirming, and so it is. Namaste.